If you're a female who does Hyrox, CrossFit, heavy lifting, strength training, boxing, or any form of moderate to high intensity cardio, but you have gas, bloating, constipation, then this episode today is for you. I can guarantee you at some point someone has told you to stop training so hard. Maybe it was a doctor, maybe it was a naturopath, maybe it was someone on Instagram telling you that high intensity exercise is ruining your hormones and destroying your gut. They've told you to stick to gentle walking, do restorative yoga, to stop pushing your body until your gut calms down. Is this true? Or is there a way to heal your gut and stay fit, to fix your bloating and push it in the gym, to overcome constipation and get lean, tone, and lovely physique? So today I'm breaking down exactly why you get gut symptoms when you train, why your pre-training strategy is so important, ladies, and what the research actually says about exercise, cortisol, leaky gut, and how we fix this properly so you don't have to choose between your fitness goals and a happy digestion. Welcome back to the Empowered Hormones podcast. I'm Sheridan. It's great to have you guys here. I'm really excited about today's episode simply because this is something that I get asked so often, but also it's something really close to my heart because I've always been a CrossFitter or into strength training or doing boxing or really long running. And when I stopped all of that, I didn't get my periods back and my gut didn't heal and all my symptoms didn't magically go away. But at the same time, I don't believe doing all that stuff was inherently just healing me either. So it's really hard to find that middle ground and to find information that's actually helpful about this stuff. So the first part of it is looking at the exercise cortisol connection and how this ties back to IBS. So you see hundreds of posts telling you that high intensity exercise spikes your cortisol and cortisol ruins your gut. So you need to stop it. I hear this all the time. I get asked this all the time by clients like, hey Sheridan, so they're working with me in the 6-month program. They're like, at what point can I add the high intensity exercise back in? And do I need to stop it now because these are impacting my healing? The research says that physical activity reduces IBS symptoms. So irritable bowel syndrome, we know on this podcast that that is a bullshit diagnosis, that it has root causes. Won't go into that today, but you guys will know about that. But exercise does help reduce these IBS symptoms. So studies show that physically active women with IBS, so some kind of gut dysfunction, report fewer symptoms, especially around constipation and regular bowel movements, compared to women who don't move a lot. So exercise helps. That's the bottom line. It helps your motility. It helps your migrating motor complex. It stops you being constipated, or in your case, contributes to stopping constipation. We know by this point, if it was just about not moving, you guys would have great bowels because a lot of you already move and are already active. We do know that exercise is protective. It's not the cause of your gut dysfunction, okay? So when you exercise, like I said, you stimulate motility, you literally help move things through your digestive tract. I find when I travel, so say I've sat in the plane for 5, 7, 10, 15 hours, I get more constipated or I struggle to have a bowel movement straight away. This is just part of that movement thing. If you go for a walk, you do some light exercise, you move around, you will help keep your motility more active. We know that exercise works on the diversity of the gut microbiome. So aerobic exercise is great for lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, but hold in your head when I talk about things like this, you can exercise and still have low good gut flora. You can exercise and still have constipation. That's not the premise of what we're going for here, because we know that exercise has health benefits. It also releases endorphins. So For those who are struggling with hypersensitivity around their gut, it can help with your pain and help with your pain management. It also improves your vagal tone. So the vagus nerve, I often see in my SIBO clients, my gut microbiome clients who have big levels of dysbiosis, so imbalances between good to gut, bad gut flora. The vagal tone or the vagus nerve can switch off. So we know this is what I would say, superhighway connecting your brain to your gut. So if exercise, here's where it gets fun. If exercise is incredibly good for your gut, why does your stomach bloat when you train? Or why do you still get constipation? Or what's going on here? Because for you listening, you're going to be an active female, but you have a compromised system. So a gut that is already inflamed, already dysbiotic, already struggling, and you go and put it under pressure, that's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to give you those health benefits that we know we can get from exercise. But at the same time, avoiding the trigger doesn't fix the gun. Quitting the gym doesn't heal your gut. It just masks the symptoms. So we need to look at what is actually happening in your body when you train. So we're going to look at a couple things. Firstly, let's break down the real reason you're getting symptoms. So blood flow, and this is going to be quite basic, this first one, but blood flow is purely physiology. When you're sitting on the couch, your body directs a significant amount of blood flow to your digestive system. So it's in rest and digest. And we all know rest and digest mode is super important. Now, you start doing heavy squats or you start sprinting, your body has to make a choice. It says, okay, we need oxygen, we need nutrients in the quads, the hamstrings, the hearts, da-di-da-da. Digestion, no longer a priority. So your body moves blood away from your gut and redirects it to your working muscles. Pretty basic. This drops your gastrointestinal tract blood flow, so by 80%. So if you have a healthy, robust gut, your body handles this temporary drop in blood flow just fine. But if you have IBS, if you have intestinal permeability, if you've got leaky gut, if you've got an active gut infection like SIBO or a parasite, your gut lining is already inflamed and vulnerable. When you pull blood away from an already inflamed gut, it struggles. Digestion slows down to a crawl. If you have food sitting in your stomach or small intestine, it just sits there. It ferments. It causes gas. It causes cramping. So we can see these things are contributing to the overall issue here. So timing of your meal really matters. When we're talking about this blood flow and the difference, where the blood's flowing around the body when you're exercising versus not exercising, food timing matters because you need blood flow, you need your GI tract switched on if you're eating food to break it down so you don't get fermentation and gas. If you're eating a massive high fiber, high fat meal before a heavy gym session, you're asking your body to do two completely different things at once. You're asking it to digest a complex meal and you're asking it to fuel maximum muscle contraction. Your body will always choose your muscles. The food will sit there, it'll ferment, and it will blow you. So you may not necessarily need to stop training, but you do need to understand how to fuel around your training so that your gut isn't fighting a losing battle. So, for example, if you're healing an active gut infection, you need to have a bowel movement, or you want to have a bowel movement before you train. So the timing of your meals matters in regards to constipation, because if you're going into a training session feeling constipated, you're not going to perform as well, but two, things are just going to ferment in the gut and that gut infection is going to get worse, especially I'm speaking to my methane SIBO girls. You need to have your higher fat, higher fiber meals away from your training sessions. So I have like half a banana or half a slice of buckwheat sourdough with jam or honey and a shot of coffee before training. And then I have my high protein breakfast after. Or within 30 to 60 minutes, kind of finish my training session. Or in the afternoon, I'll eat a good 60 minutes before training and then just have like honey and salt. So I often have like a teaspoon of honey, sprinkle of salt, and a shot of coffee before I go into my 2, 3, 4 p.m. training session. Okay, so it's the timing. That is a low fiber option that's going to fuel my muscles quickly without causing fermentation, without causing gas. So it's not only going to give me glucose and energy to train, it's also not going to exacerbate a pre-existing gut condition if you had one. So imagine this scenario, because I see it every single day. You wake up at 5:30 a.m., you haven't eaten since 7 p.m. the night before, you are completely fasted, you mix a scoop of pre-workout in some water, or you grab a double espresso, you head to the gym and you do heavy lifting, high intensity training, functional training, something that you think is burning fat, when what you're doing with this fasted training is essentially setting your gut on fire. When you train fasted at a high intensity, your body has to find energy from somewhere. You haven't given it any food, so it spikes your cortisol and spikes your adrenaline to break down stored glycogen and fat. Go back to the honey, salt, caffeine example. There is a bit of glycogen coming in, okay? This is really important. Half a slice of toast, half a banana. Banana's got a bit more fiber in it. This is giving you something to work with, and it's stopping that cortisol and adrenaline spike. Cortisol itself is not bad. You need it to wake up, you need it to train, but when you combine a fasted state with high intensity exercise, you push that cortisol spike much higher than necessary. And what does cortisol do to the gut? Increases intestinal permeability. It literally opens up the tight junctions in your gut. So it slows down gut motility. It creates an environment where dysbiosis thrives. And I explain this to my women all the time as saying, hey, those cells in your gut, they sit shoulder to shoulder. When those cells separate, things go from your gut into your bloodstream and sets off an immune response. This is when that inflammation starts to occur. Now, let's add pre-workout or the coffee to that empty stomach. Caffeine is a massive trigger for IBS, especially if you lean towards loose stools or urgency. So classically, this is hydrogen-dominant SIBO or some kind of hydrogen sulfide, or there might be an imbalance in the larger intestine as well. Caffeine stimulates gastric motility, so it makes your colon contract. There is a high link between this and the loose stools. Plus, if you're taking some kind of pre-workout on top of that, which might have sugar, alcohol, sodium bicarbonate, magnesium, artificial sweeteners as well, all of these can have you cramping, bloated, maybe having loose stools, diarrhea, running to the toilet after your workout, before you work out, during your workout, okay, which is going to give you the sensation of, hey, I've got IBS. So it's really, really important to have a look at the ingredients in what you're taking beforehand, if you're taking pre-workouts, and then even after, like what's in your protein powders, what's in your collagen powders, what's in your greens powders, because these are, I can guarantee it, so often women come to me and they're like, I've started getting bloated or loose stools or constipated, and I have a look at the ingredients list, even in foods, like even things like cottage cheese and stuff. I'm like, guys, read the ingredients list. It's so, so, so important. Anyway, that's my rant on that. Now, we need to talk about the other thing, food fear and underfueling. So this is one of the real common things I see in active women with IBS, and I will put my hand up because that was me as well. If you've got gut symptoms, you tend to start cutting out foods. You cut dairy, you cut gluten, you go low FODMAP. Your list of safe foods gets smaller and smaller. But if you're still training hard, if you're still hitting the gym 5 days a week, you're still trying to get your steps in, because your diet is so restricted and because you're terrified that eating is going to cause a flare-up, you generally are not eating enough calories to support your training. In the sports science world, and this is something I've been through personally, we call this low energy availability. When it becomes chronic, it develops into REDS, so relative energy deficiency in sport. When your body's in a state of low energy, it thinks it's starving. It doesn't know you're just trying to manage an IBS flare or lose a few kilos. It thinks it's a famine. And then when the human body thinks it's like starving, it starts to shut down non-essential functions, right? What is the first system to get down regulated? Digestion, every time. Actually, thyroid's a big one as well. I see this in a lot of clients with low thyroid function and ovaries. But for the sake of today, digestion, your body stops producing adequate stomach acid, your digestive enzyme production drops, your gut motility slows down. This leads to constipation and bloating. Your intestinal lining doesn't repair itself properly because it doesn't have the protein and nutrients it needs to repair the tissue. So your gut gets weaker, it gets more reactive to foods, you restrict more foods, you underfuel even more. It's a vicious, destructive cycle. The bloating is because your body is chronically underfueled, okay? Digestive fire is completely burnt out and the body and your gut doesn't have the energy it needs to process food. You cannot heal a gut in a starved body. You cannot rebuild a microbiome on 1,400 calories a day while training like an athlete. We have to get you eating enough food. And I know for a lot of people this is really hard because they're like, well, Sheridan, I have mast cell activation and histamines and SIBO. What and how am I going to get enough calories in to maintain the training? And that is when maybe the training needs to drop because we just can't sustain it while we're working on the root cause. And that leads me to the final piece of this puzzle, the root cause itself. So if you are getting these IBS flares, we need to remember, like I mentioned at the start, IBS is not a root cause. IBS is a label. It just means irritable bowel syndrome. It means your bowel is, I'm going to say, moody, and we don't know why. You might have loose stools, you might have constipation, you might have bloating, you might have gas, you might have food reactions. Inside the root cause program, over the 6 months of working one-on-one with me, we do comprehensive functional testing on active women with IBS, okay? That is who I work with. I don't just look for stress. I don't just look for undereating. I don't just look at pre-workout nutrition. I don't just look at food timing or macros. All really important, and we've chatted about today. But the reason we are going to decide to increase or decrease your training levels is going to be on what we find in that testing. If we find SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, if we find parasites, if we find severe dysbiosis, if we find really low good gut flora, if we find candida, these are giving me an insight into how much cortisol is your body producing just to fight these infections? Is your immune system in a constant battle? Is your gut lining inflamed? We need to know what kind of acute inflammatory response your body is in. So if it's in a day-to-day inflammatory response with all these gut infections, do I want to throw you into the CrossFit ring and be like, go compete as hard as you can? Probably not, because I want to heal your gut first. But when you heal your gut, when we fix it properly, when we run the right tests, you are going to perform better than ever before. And people don't prioritize this. I think that's the thing. We want to keep going as hard as we can all the time, as much as we can. And that is awesome. And I love that. And I'm in there with you. And that is my thing. But sometimes we need to push and pull and go, okay, I need to pull back a little bit for 2 or 3 months. I need to drop my macros slightly because I'm not moving as much. I need to really focus on, quality proteins, animal proteins that are going to heal my gut lining. I still need to move every day. I still want to do some strength training. I still want to do some cardio, but I can't do these extreme distances, these extreme comps, or push it too hard, or hit training that's just, exhausting my body without me fueling properly. We need to find a sustainable workout routine for you. Remove and rebalance these microbiome infections that are going on in your gut so that when we go back to training as hard as you want, your body responds in the way that it's supposed to. I hope that makes sense. So let's recap, because I know we covered a lot of ground today. 1, exercise doesn't cause IBS. Actually, physical activity is really going to help your gut health, your motility, and your microbiome. We need to move. That's a given in any scenario. Whatever that looks like is what we do in your one-on-ones, but you need to be moving daily if you're not. 2, if you're getting symptoms during or after training, have a look at the context. Is it because you're training fasted? Is it the ingredients in your pre-workouts or your protein powders? Is it, the timing of your caffeine? Is it the timing of your meals? Track, get some data, have a look, download Chronometer. What am I eating? Do that. 3, you can't heal your gut if you're chronically underfueling. Restriction and food fear lead to low energy availability, which literally shuts down your digestive capacity. And 4, if you're doing everything right and you're still suffering, you have an unaddressed root cause. Parasites, SIBO, dysbiosis. You need to run some testing to understand what's actually going on with your body, because you're hitting all the other things. And a lot of you have been doing all the right things for years. And that's taking you up until this point to be like, there is a root cause. We can fix this properly if we run the testing, if we stop guessing, if we're, finally throw the GP diagnosis out the window of IBS and get sick of being told just to manage your stress or to just stop training so hard, because ultimately those aren't the root causes. They're just exacerbating something deeper that's going on. So if this sounds like you, let's have a look at what's going on with your symptoms, with your training, with your nutrition, and map out a clear plan to fix it. No fluff, just let's jump straight into it. Have a look. Book your free gut health planning session with me. The link's in the show notes, because if you're going to keep staying in this loop of training hard, under eating, not fueling correctly, your gut is going to get worse. The minute you test, work out what's going on with your gut, we can heal that. Then we can pull your training intensity up and up, increase your calories as we need, and actually get you feeling and looking really good.